Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, John Travolta, JMels24, Yuya Nemento, M, Iron26, Endless, Goldie McKiernan, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Fiber Oats, Bogey, Michael Kahn, Rob H, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B. Styles, Troy Shuker, Harry Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Nealand, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah, well, yeah, I just thought I'd give him a heads up on it. I don't care. Simon, Dan, what a clown.
I just sat down. What was that?
Oh, I'm sorry, Nathan. I just wanted to give you a heads up. It's no big deal. It was kind of quiet this morning. Simon Dan is going to do debunk on you Tuesday. Yes, sir. I just wanted you to know, or maybe you wanted, whatever. I mean, it's just a joke, whatever. But
what did I claim? What's he debunking?
He did. He's been doing him and our buddy. Flatzoid. Yeah, him and Flatzoid been going at it. But now Tuesday, he's going to do you.
All right, I'm not a Time and Dan subscriber, but there we go.
No,
Thanks for the effort, Dan.
Yeah, I know it, Nathan. I'm just saying, how we debunk all these clowns. It's just funny. I thought maybe there might be some pretty good pieces out of that Tuesday.
Oh, I'm sure we'll respond. Yeah, he should hopefully tread very, very carefully indeed, given that his only interaction with me thus far was a tweet he sent me, which has been kept alive in his honour ever since. Very useful tweet it was. So maybe tread carefully, Dan, if you're listening.
Yeah.
I'd like to place it that I'll get more out of that than he does. As in, he'll give me more meat. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I wanted to mention it. I'm sure other people will tell you about it too.
Thank you for letting me know.
Well, they're really struggling with the level, all that perpendicular stuff, and that's kind of kicking their butt pretty hard right now too.
Okay, I have no idea. Fill me in. I don't know what you mean.
Oh, just how you've been talking about the level and all, flat Earth. There's level, horizon, or level. All these different plain language terms that most people use. Yeah. They well, just that part of it, right? The level and the horizon not being, level. I don't know. I get a kick out of it myself. I can't hardly. I mean, I got a definite definition of level and horizon and perpendicular. All these things
If they had never torn down that Great Wall of China, we could just go there with an 8-foot level, draw a straight line, and see if it ever bends. Bastards. They knew what they were doing.
Hey, 10th.
Good morning.
I was listening to...
Morning.
Oh, hey, guys. Right.
I'm just saying 11 to 10th. That's all. Don't worry. Carry on.
Yeah, Steve, I was listening to Bev Try Thinking again. He was talking to Blue Marble Science, and the things that Blue Marble Science was saying, like, it's just unbelievable, like what it does to your mind, believing in the or having to believe in the globe. Like he could not, I guess, admit that vertical is defined as being perpendicular to horizontal. Like, he just couldn't do it. Yeah, unreal.
Except in celestial navigation, they define it quite right.
What
This is the
the
thing.
perpendicular relationship?
Yeah, we don't have
Yep.
to define it. It's a weird one because as much as we can utilize what is done in celestial navigation to assert the Earth is flat, because that's how it's dealt with, it's not for us to defend. We're not laying down or developing methods of celestial navigation. That's not our bag. That is just how it is. It's not an agree, disagree. It's not a debate. It's just that's how celestial navigation is done. Oh, what? You don't agree? Well, take it up with celestial navigation.
Yeah, exactly. Well said, because it's the way it's done, and they've already used perpendicular in the way it's been defined perpendicular for everyone until the ballers want to redefine perpendicular.
At a point. That seems to
What do you
be
mean?
where they get stuck. They say it's perpendicular at a point. Then that just destroys,
Oh,
in my
you
opinion, the idea. You know,
so the
yeah,
tangent plane is touching the Earth's surface that's curved at a point. Everything's at a point. The problem is you subtract from 90 at a point, and the GP of the star or sun is at one place, and you are the other GP with your own zenith, 90. And that has a circle of equal altitude with a radius, and no radius lines are bent. The more they say it, the more it gets worse and worse for them.
Oh yeah, like who in the heck is going to assert that surface level isn't horizontal? Like to hear that.
yeah. Like I'm just imagining that in my mind. Like they're on the surface of a ball. So let's do now that vertical on the curved horizontal is just diverging so much that you can't even get a straight line to the star. Yeah,
There's no such
unreal.
thing as a curved horizontal.
Just imagining.
No, I know what you're saying. It's a crazy time because you have to be crazy to defend the undefendable. So when they defend the undefendable, they have to redefine words, which makes them look crazy, like curved horizontal.
Yeah, he was asked
Yeah,
how
but
many. He was asked how many verticals can you have on a horizontal line? How many verticals that will be perpendicular to the horizontal can you extend? How far can you extend it? His answer was that it's only vertical at one point.
A sphere doesn't have straight lines, it doesn't have horizontals. Don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, what you're saying is they're going to deny
No.
basic geometry.
Right. Well, that's what I've been saying all along. They're only saying that is because from their point of view, everything from a curved surface has to go to the center of that circle, or in their case, a sphere. So it emanates from the core or the origin, the center of a circle, and goes to the curved surface. And there's that one point that they're talking about. So they just live on this drawing, but it's not reality, because if it's reality, then this black swan would never exist. And every observer at any height, no matter what it is, 1 foot above sea level or on top of the mountain, the math would work for the Earth curvature. But the math has gone missing. The horizon is beyond its limitation. And if they say refraction, then we say, welcome to flat Earth, because how did you ever measure it? if it changes with the weather. If one day it's 1.22 miles, which is what they say it is, the geometric horizon at 1 foot observer height, the thing that's the hill in the way that's supposed to block the bottom of boats and buildings. But the next day it's at 20 miles. And the other day it's at 30 miles. The Earth is not growing.
No,
I'm trying
but
to find a way to
that new housekeeping question, that's what I like about level and horizontal being used in it, because it's forcing them to deal with reality and geometry. So they can't jump back and forth between it like they usually do. It's kind of just in their face right there.
I would like to hear like even the I mean, nobody really answers the housekeeping questions honestly, right? Like, do we have any evidence of a molten magnetic core? Like there is what they consider to be evidence of it. Does anybody, I would like to hear those rebutted sometimes. I'd also like to figure out how to form an argument for what I've come to notice is that a lot of these globers can't seem to define horizontal without the presupposed curvature of the Earth. How do you find horizontal at all? Right, at a point, right? They say, but
No,
they seem to need to
the
backwards engineer it from the presupposed curvature.
horizontal is defined already. Vertical is defined already. They're the ones having a problem with the definition, not us.
That's right.
And so I don't do it that way personally. Like if I'm one-on-one, I don't do it that way. But the way I do it, I say, let's look up that word. Okay, that's it. That's the definition right there. Now you want to change that. Look, I give you everything you want. Molten iron core, everything, you name it. Just show me Earth curvature that matches the radius of the Earth where it's supposed to be without change. Just show it to me. Show me Earth curve.
That's not fair, Tim, if it's below surface level.
Well, yeah, on the drawings. But if it's real, if all of the things at the early days of this deception, which were all optical with refraction and with ships and things disappearing bottom up because of the deck and the limitation of the angle, where you got all this room in the sky, it's not disappearing there, but on the bottom it starts disappearing. And then last would be the top. The further you go out, it's a convergence. It's just like the artist painting with the railroad tracks or telephone lines all converging. It's just perspective. But they use that as Earth curve. Well, that's changing by the weather. Now we're saying, show it to us. And then now we've got the advantage because we got P900s, we've got all kinds of stuff, lasers, whatever. And so the whole point is, if there's supposed to be a hill in the way at 1.2 miles at a 1 foot observer height, where is that hill? Where is that blockage? It's not there. So you don't have the Earth curve at 3959 playing out appropriately, which means everything else about your model went. All space travel's gone, distances of the sun, everything. The whole thing falls apart the minute you don't have a ball.
Well, I agree
Just
to
show me
that, but
Yeah,
even
but
in the
just show me the
math,
ball.
right? But even in the math, the ball always existed below surface level, so that it's just impossible. It'll never happen.
Well, I had a talk yesterday with a family about this. The whole family wanted to hear about it. So they invited me, and I went over the key housekeeping questions and told them everything about the globe exists in the math. It only exists in the math.
No, it doesn't exist in maths anymore. Like
But
that's,
in their
I
math,
don't think that. No, it doesn't exist in math. It's
go on.
it's like an equivocation, kind of, but with mathematics. It never existed in the maths. It couldn't. It's just
No,
misinterpretation of the mathematics.
True. But that's, again, it's the same thing when they redefine horizontal. They redefine the maths.
Well, then it's not math anymore that they're doing.
Correct. But the whole point is that if you assume it's a sphere, if you go with all the assumptions without proving it first, then you create a math for it, then it only exists in that Narnia math. It's not real math. It's not real
But can you
globe that you.
can you prove horizontal? I mean, do you have something that proves horizontal? I know you had said earlier
You're
that
ask-
it just is what
You're-
is,
you're-
right?
you're-
Like, vertical. and
You're
horizontal.
asking me.
Water.
You're asking me to prove 2 + 2 is 4.
I guess so.
Yeah, that's the geometric concept. Like, what are you wanting to, you know what I mean? Like, you got to be careful about that trick. Like, horizontal is a geometric concept. It's not something you need to prove. It just is.
Well, I mean, that's what I mean. I'm not arguing with you, right? But I'm saying that does sound similar to a beginning glober. I don't need to prove that the Earth's a globe. It just is. It is what it is.
No.
No.
There's a distinct difference between begging the question and laying out a geometric concept. You know, when you lay out a concept, right? If you're going to describe anything conceptually, yeah, there's an acceptance that what you're describing is only in the mind's eye of you when I describe it to you. It doesn't matter what it is. But then you're down to semantics if you don't agree on the definition. So if I say the word sphere, but you think sphere means banana shape, then we've got a problem. But in a Socratic method, we have to go through and agree on what those terms mean. Now, the term is all we're talking about. It's not assuming an outcome when you use a term or a concept. If I say horizontal, or if I say a line, or I say a tangent, and you go, prove a tangent, I'd go, what are you talking about? Tangent's a description of something. In maths, it's not something I need to prove. What do you mean, prove a tangent? There is no
Well, prove
proving
that
a tangent.
You can have one.
It's a way of describing a line in a mathematical description that's meeting the edge of a sphere. That's what it is. But I'm not going to be proving that. Like, where do I prove it? I'm not drawing one. Just telling you what it is. If I tell you what horizontal is, but you don't agree, then we've got to go through the Socratic method and agree on terms, and that's how it's defined.
Right. Now, if you want to challenge level as being horizontal, that's going to be some fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
That's where the
Is there any evidence that level is not horizontal?
Well, yeah. So then, if horizontal is just an idea, can you show me something that's perfectly horizontal in reality on the surface of the Earth?
Water.
Yeah,
The
water
horizon?
at rest.
And that's begging the question.
Water at rest. It's used as that.
Water at rest.
It's used for building things to establish
level.
horizontal.
Sorry.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm not disagreeing, but the other side of the argument will say that yeah, but water is just level, which conforms to the curvature of the Earth.
The problem I
No,
see.
he does.
hold on. We had this whole argument the other day, and I was in your position. Now think about it. What you have to be saying when you say level conforms to the curvature of Earth.
An oxymoron.
Right. No part higher or lower than the other. What is that describing?
A curve. If you're describing level not conforming to the curvature of a sphere, you're saying it conforms to parts that are lower than other parts, while simultaneously having no part higher or lower than the other. It's an oxymoron. It's a married bachelor.
Right. And then when you go to the concept of horizontal, which is geometric, and can't argue that. That's not a debatable position.
May I
have
interject something?
evidence? Hold on. Do you have evidence that horizontal and level aren't the same thing?
Please let me interject something. That flat earthers need to learn how to dismiss an argument, like walk away. If you stay with someone like that, you're crazy. You're becoming a fool for talking to a fool. You can have discourse until it gets to these points. Once it reaches these points of communication, where words have 5 meanings, or 2 or 3, then you're going to be in a violation of law of non-contradiction. You can't say a word and in its context have all these different meanings. And so when the ballers do this trick, it's as if I could give a description. The insane asylum, doors were left open, the crazy people were let out, just happened to wander into a coffee shop while you were sitting there reading a flat earth book, and you decided to have a discussion with them.
Well,
And you can't,
hold on.
and you're trying to hang on, and you're trying to convince them, and they're using all the tricks that you're saying. And finally, a truck pulls up with men in white suits come and pull them away. And you say, what's going on? Oh, this guy's crazy. He just escaped. Oh my gosh. You know, I knew he was wrong because he was saying things that were stupid, but I was trying to change him. I was trying to convince him. I was trying to walk away.
Well, hold on. I was building up to something with what I was saying. And it's let them take level to idiocy because they use eye level to get angles in their model.
Right. So if
It's just another.
if
They go one
so
way,
if
they're
I'm a
dead. They
Glover,
go another way, they're dead. It's done.
I can tell by the interruption that no one's picking up what John's pointing down. John's trying to break it down for you. If somebody on the globe side asserts that level conforms to the curvature of Earth's surface, or the curvature of water, which it isn't, you go, okay, fine. Let's have a look at how your maths works. What's this? Eye level? Go ahead, John.
So eye level's not horizontal then.
It is in their maths. It has to be to adhere to the geometric principles they're utilising when it comes to angles. Same goes for surface level. That's horizontal in their maths. It has to be. It's a geometric model. So is it going to disobey the laws and rules of the mathematical geometry it's based upon? No. It is geometric. It's a geometric assertion. It's a geometric model. Earth being claimed to be spherical is a geometric claim. So do you think they're going to violate the principles of horizontal in their own claim, in their own model, in their own geometry? No, they're not. That's why it's labelled with a nice horizontal line to depict it when it says eye level in their maths. Because level's level, it's horizontal. They're the same thing. Yeah? It has to be used that way in geometry. So when they say, no, it's curving round, no, is it? Not in this geometry, it's not. Because it's a geometric term used in your geometry. That's what John's saying. If you can't hammer them over the head with that, you need to understand it. No, it doesn't conform to a curve because it violates the law of non-contradiction to be having no position higher or lower than another along a line and simultaneously conforming to a curved surface. That violates the law of non-contradiction. And you can show them in their own geometry where that is not applied or not applicable or would completely balls up their own maths, as it has done when they claimed that a tangent line was refracted. It's another straight line that can't be anything other than straight that they've bent when we showed them the black swan. Well, now they're saying horizontal itself is bent. Not in your geometry, mate. Here it is. Eye level.
Well, this is the beauty of the bubble sextant and the spirit level that's in the bubble sextant. Because it is, as John says, at the eye and it's level, horizontal, all the way. I remember when Virus was here, back in the day, and I asked him, is that eye level horizontal straight into infinity? He said yes. And I said, well, then it's over. Welcome to flat earth. Because what do you think dip correction is? Dip correction is taking that 10 foot above the sailboat, putting it on the surface of the water, and now you're at zero. It's the same as the eye level. This is because if you're in a rubber,
when you look out,
if you're hang on. If you're in a rubber ducky with a sextant, you don't do dip correction because you're right at the surface level, basically. Okay, so but if you're above it, you do it. But if you aren't using the horizon or a Mariner sextant, but you're using a bubble sextant, it works the same, gives you the same reading, works exactly the same way. Well, one needs a eye level horizontal all the way to infinity to work. and the other one gives you the same results, well, it's got to match the same if it's going to give you the same results. So sea level is like eye level, horizontal.
Oh, no tanks.
Oh, I was gonna say. So then we put it into a practical test, right? We stand out on the beach with a theodolite and we look at 25 miles. I don't know, right? So what do I see? Do I see? I'm looking out straight horizontally, but the water is blocking things off in the distance.
That's optical.
Yeah. Hold on a sec. You missed it.
Matic Rushkev, can you pop yourself on mute, please? Thank you.
Like you're going to the horizon blocking things now, but that's just a red herring.
Let's
Well, I
put
mean,
it a
it's just
different
in
way.
reality, the water is now at the crosshair of the instrument.
If you're above
Right.
it,
It's the wrong tool.
The sea level is blocking things. Is that what you're claiming?
It's just a photograph of an instrument looking out. It has a crosshair. I'm 12 feet above the water, and the water is at the crosshair.
And
you've
sea
got a point-
level
so you're
is
pointing it
blocking
down then.
things in the distance.
So you're pointing it down.
Um,
Then. So then you're
the
pointing
It's
it
a
down.
instrument
depression
says that
angle.
it's level.
Hello. So you can't be if it's pointing at the water. You're pointing it at the horizon.
He's confusing setting the transit to level and the actual thing pointing down for a depression angle. He's confusing the two things.
Yeah. So I mean, because there's only like 5-10 minutes left. So my original point, if you remember, was that they need to first presuppose the radius of the globe to even determine a straight horizontal line. Once you get to that point, then they're going to change. They're going to say, look, now you're looking down. I thought I was looking straight. So now you have to adjust your instrument according to the curvature of the Earth to find out what horizontal is.
No,
No,
I just took.
No.
Hold on. You said the water is blocking things. Think about that. Sea level is blocking what? Insane. You can't say that. You've already established what horizontal is at that point, and level is horizontal. You're talking
But
nonsense.
the water is, but the water at I'm at 6 feet, whatever, or 4 feet with the tool. The water in the distance, as I can see further on the clearest day possible, is now at the crosshair of the instrument.
Right,
Even
and
though I know
train
it's
tracks
below my feet.
converge. Right, and train tracks converge into the distance. What's the point?
It's perspective. What's going on here?
I mean, that's their point. And that's where they
No, it's
started.
not. No,
It's
their
not.
point.
Oh, stop.
Their point
Stop.
is
Yeah, okay, we've cleared that up. Great. Let's just get back on track to John's point. So I'll put it into a scenario. If you're a Bev Try Thinking fan, this will make a lot of sense to you. In fact, I'll put it in context with Bev Try Thinking. So you're watching Bev, and he's going back and forth with a baller. And the baller's going, bend horizontal. Level isn't level. I mean, level isn't horizontal, or whatever it is they say. They say level is moving around a sphere Earth. When I say level, that's what level means. Right? So you hear him going back and forth. For, let's say it's 3 hours. What you can do, if you're a participant, is get yourself into Metabunk Curve Calculator and just bring up the diagram. And you go in while they're arguing, you go, excuse me, can I ask a quick question? And they go, yeah, okay, no worries. What is it you want to ask? I want to ask the guy who says that level runs around a sphere. In this geometric claim of Earth curve, what's this? And then point him to eye level. And what's this here? Where it says eye level? Why isn't it moving around a sphere if your claim is true? Given that this is the basis of your claim and your maths and your sphere Earth assertion with a geometric horizon blocking your view of things in the distance calculable in this maths that details what level is. They ain't fucking running around the edge of a sphere now, is it, Dumbo? That's what you can do.
But also you can use an artificial. You can use an artificial horizon. If you cannot observe the real horizon, you can get a bowl with water in or a bucket. And you can use the surface of the water again as a horizontal plane. That's how it's done.
Correct. They use
You need to
molasses
establish
as
that
well.
horizontal plane first.
Right. They use things with much higher viscosities. so that they can keep them stiller for longer once they've settled. So it's the same principle as using something like a bubble sextant. But yeah, you're establishing horizontal with something that you know to be horizontal, like the surface of water or molasses or whatever it is you're using.
Nathan, you
Because
remember
even though the boat might be rocking, the surface of the water will always stay on that vector, always.
Yeah, I just want to point out that statement that was made, well, then you must be looking down. Whoever said that, that's the Glober's argument. They say, see, that proves that you're looking down over the curvature.
No, that's not right.
No, that's
in
a
there,
depression
hold
angle.
on, you're close, but you're just so far away at the same time. No, because what that assertion in regards to the globe is made in is the maths. So their assertion in the maths is that what you are claimed to be presented with when you reify their maths into the horizon you see isn't capable of being seen because it's described as being literally, in the maths, below surface level. That's where their curve resides in the maths, below the surface level. That's what they're saying in their maths.
Yeah.
Think
So
about it.
therefore, if you're seeing it at level, you must. I mean, according to them, I'm not making that argument, but that's their proof. Like in a demonstration.
No. On the contrary,
Do you see the water?
No.
You're looking down.
It's not their proof. It's their get out of jail for the world not falling away from your position. The world doesn't fall away from your position. In fact, if you describe perspective, what you see at surface level, let's say we're talking about the water, rises up in your vantage, in your eye level. Now, I'm not saying the horizon rises to eye level, but what I'm saying is what you see from your feet, which is where you're stood, on a perfectly flat surface, what appears to rise up into the distance. When you're saying, oh no, well, they claim that it's falling away, that's why you're looking down. I'm not looking down. I'm looking out into the distance.
I know.
Well, I'm nearly done.
Like a circle.
I'm nearly done.
I'm
nearly
done.
done. I'm nearly done. I haven't made my point yet. You get it? I haven't finished.
Sorry.
In their world, when they say, oh, well, that's because you're looking down. No, you would be looking down, and you are looking down in their maths because their globe Earth horizon, geometric limitation, is below the surface level. The one that we observe when it disappears into the distance in reality, when you're not looking down. So their Earth curve is below you, and you would look down if the world was falling away from you. The world isn't falling away from you, though. So when you say that's their proof, see, now it would be the case that it would be a proof, see, if the world was falling away from me, but it isn't.
Yeah,
Nathan, I got the
that's
picture.
why my original
Hang
statement is they can't even show horizontal. Okay.
Nathan, go to Master D. Look at the picture from the Earth curve calculator, where we showed what they even put there with the dotted line at the eye level, and then surface level. It's right there.
Yeah, so like Righteous put up that. So that's what was my original statement was that if you're a hardcore globe believer, then you don't even believe in horizontal. There's horizontal. You can't even establish horizontal. You're always looking down while establishing a horizontal. They need to presuppose the radius.
No, they believe
no.
You missed what John said. They believe in horizontal when it's eye level. They don't believe in horizontal when they want to defend their globe.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy.
So that's contradiction.
Right, but it's the contradiction lies with only the anti-flat earthers who deny what level is, which they do.
Yeah, so if I was... Yeah, sorry.
Right, so what's on screen is, for the audience's benefit, their geometry for their assertion that there's a horizon marked with an X labelled horizon below surface level that you'd be looking down on. It's in the diagram with you looking down. It's not how we observe the world. We don't have an extra horizon below surface level. When we observe the world with the side of our own head in view, we don't see below surface level. It's absurd. But we must have a horizontal level labelled in this diagram as surface level for them to make the assertion of the drop from surface level on a sphere Earth we're not standing on. Well, what does that imply? Well, it implies that they absolutely require level to be horizontal. It's a necessity for their geometry because it's a geometric description. Again, why would I have to prove it? It's in their own maths. Meanwhile, we've debunked the horizon below surface level in this maths with the black swan. So it's all moot. What is being debated about on BEVs is completely moot. Who cares whether they define level as horizontal or not? They're supposed to have a hill getting in the way. Now, when they do, like I say, and this is my overriding point, if you're an audience member watching Bev argue the toss about whether or not level is bendizontal, just go in with this diagram. Go, excuse me. So let me get this straight. Level runs around the edge of a sphere, contradicting its own definition of having nothing higher or lower than itself. Okay, why do you have level in this maths, aka your geometry for a sphere Earth assertion, horizontally? Why isn't this dotted line moving around the curve? Oh, is it because it's required to make the geometric assertions in this maths to be horizontal? You stupid clown. They just rub their faces in it after a stupid argument that's been had on BEVs for hours and hours and hours and hours. Show them it in their own bloody diagram. This is moving around the centre of Earth, is it? This is your official globe Earth maths that requires horizontal to be level. There it is, labelled twice. Eye level, surface level. It's not moving around a sphere. It's not conforming to water that's bent. It's absurd nonsense. An extraordinary claim that defies their original claim if they're a true globe believer, which they're not. You're dealing with heresy if you're dealing with these muppets that tell you that level isn't level.
Yeah, that black swan really mucked up some stuff. Elevation angles didn't make it no better for them.
So after 4 hours of arguing in the coffee shop, you finally see the white truck with the men in the white suits come and pick up the guy.
Yeah, that was the original point in this, wasn't it? Yeah, there's a reason. The same goes for liars. At the point that someone's just prepared to tell you a barefaced lie to your face, then just disassociate yourself with that person. Don't try and convince them that they've lied to you because they're barefaced lying to you. Yeah? Now, you might want to point it out once if you're in my position, because I've got an audience, and they benefit from that. For example, Charles' flat earth math. I don't need to use R. Do you not? Well, I will grab his hair and rub his face in his use of R, making him a provable liar. That's what I'll do. On his own show, on his own audience, on his own neutral platform, as he mutes me as I do so. Because he can't get an R measurement. So he lies about needing R. Now, I want absolutely no association with Charles whatsoever. He's a scumbag. A liar, like Virus, who coincidentally did the exact same thing in Flatsoid's chat yesterday. Denied needing to need R. Like, what are you talking about? I've got plenty of examples of Virus begging the question of an R-based value when he talks about Earth being a sphere. So he's just a liar, like Charles. And I don't want these people in my life. I don't want to spend time convincing them that I'm right and they're wrong. No, because when I do, they'll just lie. Oh, right, you've debunked our R value that we haven't got a measurement for anymore. Oh, right, I don't need it. What are you talking about? You've used it the entirety of your time here, and every assertion you ever make from here forward will require it. You're just going to deny it, so your audience can chat along going, he's telling Nathan he doesn't need it. Yeah, until I show that he's used it already in his refraction. Yeah? 7/6 of a radius. Right? Oh, there it is! Shockingly. Yeah, because he's a liar. He does need it. It's a prerequisite for his claim. But to deny it makes him a Judas, a heretic. For you, not me. You know, you can deal with that scum that you have to deal with in this pond. Because we're not the scum. We aren't at the surface, raking all the money in. The scum is at the surface. And Charles is one of them.
Nathan, a perfect example is these two posts I just put in Masterdy. Can you go to them? This was a continuation that this person wants to still have with me on the Neil deGrasse Tyson chat under that video we had a reaction show yesterday on. Okay, this is this fella, Alex F. You replied to nothing at all. Your hot air is useless to me. Bring forward some numbers. I clearly disintegrated all your beliefs about perspective, and you replied with nothing but word salad. You claim you could use math, but apparently you don't, and obviously cannot refute my point. lame, pathetic, pitiful. Say something useful next time if you have the guts.
Not a rebuttal.
Then, no, I know. And then, do you see the second one there?
Yeah.
They show up. It says what? I'm waiting. This was this morning. Now, I'm not going to talk to this guy anymore. You saw all the text back and forth I did yesterday. I tried to communicate. I'm waiting for the white van with the two guys in the white suit to pick him up.
Alex F., when you continue to live in a delusional state of believing in a sphere Earth without a radius value consistent with what the globe model requires, and then claim angle measurements, which you did, which require a flat baseline in order to achieve a perpendicular relationship to subtract from 90, that's called an admission you've contradicted yourself, along with your non-existing globe model. Cheers. What's he talking about when you didn't give base measurements? You talked about the angles he used and the relationship to horizontal he used and the flat baseline he used. But what, his last thing is to say, you've given me nothing. You replied with nothing at all. No, he did. But you're a delusional muppet with your head in the sand, Alex F. You know, that's all you've got, denial. It's quite sad.
Maybe what he meant is, hold on, maybe what he meant is all 10th done was destroyed his paradigm and he didn't replace it. That's not fair.
Yeah, okay, this is the point, right? Hold on. There's a underlying point that's been attached to. Right, at this point you go, this guy is waiting for the nutters to come. He did just prove it to this guy. 10th proved to the guy with his own claim and his own angles and his own flat baseline. You know, his response to that was, oh, it doesn't make much difference that I'm using a flat baseline. That was his reply to that. So you're dealing with delusional muppetry when you get into this anti-flat earth sect, this cult of delusional muppets who used to believe they're on a sphere until we came along and showed out all of the claimed prophecies of a sphere don't work. Then they invented new ones for themselves and got shoved into a pond to rise up as scum-lying bastards to the top and skim off all the cash that's available from the pond. That's all that's happened. Well, okay. What would I rather be? Shoved under the surface level? Actually not true at all, because we've wandered our way out of the pond and are now looking at Neil deGrasse Tyson and various other YouTubers who punt this crap with their actual rhetoric. We're not entangling ourselves with the anti-flat earth bullshit that isn't the claim. No, just stepped out the pond.
Nathan, I think you understand what I'm saying because you have the career in sales. The salespeople who would always fail had many common denominators that they all did the same thing. Of course, there were variances. Let me give an example. Sitting with a customer that never intended to buy your product for 4 hours. Coming back to the office, exhausted, defeated, downcast. What happened? Well, went to this appointment, did a great presentation, and then what? Well, 4 hours later, I go, 4 hours later? Wait a minute, you stayed there 4 hours? He goes, yeah. And I go, why? I've taught you to ask desire questions. I've taught you to see if the product we have fits their life. Do they need it? Do they want it? Didn't that get achieved like in the first 5 minutes? Well, yeah. I go, well, then what happened? Well, I just kept talking. Yeah, but 4 hours of what'd you talk about? He says, I don't know. I don't know if I'm cut out for this type of business. I go, no, you're not.
Yeah, failure to close.
Failure to distinguish who is your customer and who wants to be your customer so that you should spend another 5 minutes is key. Because if they never intend to buy your product, what are you there? What you live on commission. You're trying to sell something that benefits a certain person.
Here we go. There we go. You're a Ferrari salesman standing in your sales room. Someone comes in and goes, Ferraris ain't that fast. You know what? I can find an Audi that's miles faster. And you go, all right, I've got two choices as this salesman. I can spend the next 3 hours arguing with this wanker about whether or not Audis are faster than Ferraris, or I can tell him to get out. Get out, dipshit. You're not a Ferrari customer, are you? You're an Audi customer. Piss off, go to Audi, where they'll ignore you and maybe see if you want a lease deal. Okay? Sod off. Right? The guy who comes in and goes, which one of these can I actually drive away with? He's a customer. He's worth your time. Yeah? It's the same thing. We're the Ferrari dealer. We're dealing in Ferrari. That's what Flat Earth is. It's the Ferrari of worldviews. Yeah? You're coming in with your dusty old, shitty, falling apart Subaru Globe Earth belief. And you want to tell me that Ferrari isn't good. And you don't believe in Ferrari. Oh, that's nice. Sod off into your globe believing Subaru and piss off back to wherever you came from. Because I haven't got time to waste with you. That's Brian's attitude when he's like, give me $3,000 if you want to argue with me about this crap. If you want me to argue about non-globe rhetoric, the anti-flat earth rhetoric, globiolus, you want me to argue about that, pay me. So I haven't got time for it. You're not interested in what I've got to sell. You want to tell me that what I'm selling is bad. You want to end my dealership. Yeah? That's what you want to do. You want to write complaints about it while you simultaneously chew up my time telling me my cars are bad. That's what they want to do. Fuck them. That's my attitude. No, I don't want to deal with you. You wankers like Fight the Flat Earth and Simon Dan. Not interested in dealing with them. I'll use them as an example when they humiliate themselves. But as for actually interacting with them, why? They're literally the antithesis of my customer. They're the least likely to buy what I'm putting down. And when I do put it down and it makes perfect sense and there's nothing to argue with, they'll lie. For example, you go, no. The Audi you're talking about, the RS5 only does 60 in 3.5 seconds. This Ferrari does it in 2.5 seconds. It's just faster. And the guy says, nah, the Audi does it in 1.9. And you go, you're a wanker. You are literally going to lie to me, to my face, when I prove you wrong. So what does that mean that when I'm proving you wrong and I win in an argument, I'm going to convert you to a Ferrari customer? No, you'd rather lie about your bloody Subaru or the Audi you haven't bought and are never going to being better so that you win the argument. So in other words, there is no sale to be made for the Ferrari dealer in that circumstance. Me, the flat earther, being the equivalent. There's no sale to be made. Am I going to sell Dan, who's got a mural of a globe on the back of him that he's commissioned, a flat earth? No, I'm never going to sell that to him. Not in a million years. So why would I piss away my time trying? Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Arwin, Righteous Force, 10th Man Rising, Neil, Refracted Curvature, the Adam Meekin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good morning.
What's that, Adam? Have we never
Hey.
what?
Hello. I just need to say something. I know you don't like when I say something that's been brought up in the pre-show, but they'll hear it. You likened us to Ferrari, but I don't agree. I think it's the Ferrari in the movie Rush that Nicky Lauda worked on to get it really performing well. That's what we are at Flat Earth Debate.
Okay, so let me get it straight. You're saying my comparison in the pre-show to Flat Earth and the distribution thereof to a Ferrari dealer selling Ferraris and us being equivalent to the Ferrari dealer. Your issue is that what?
His
You didn't-
issue is
Oh,
You
you're
don't
not
like
recognising
you don't
saying
like
that-
current Ferraris is your current issue with that, and you prefer a particular Ferrari from a particular era.
the improved Ferrari.
a bespoke one.
You want a German Ferrari to be my example because that won't convolute
He's
the
saying
example. Okay, well, that's
Listen,
good.
you got a new name after today's
It's
pre-show.
very
I
easy.
get it.
If you want a German
You
Ferrari,
got
you
a new
buy a
name after
Lamborghini.
today's.
That's how you do that.
Ah,
Anyway,
Hold
that's.
on. In that movie, did he not get that car performing better?
I think we should
came
start
in
the
the-
live show off with Neil talking about Ford versus Ferrari and Rush.
Well, I caught the tail end. I didn't hear the other part. I just heard Ferrari.
I'm glad you decided that would be the most
Sure, if
appropriate
you-
thing to
if you
interject
caught the
into
tail
the
end,
first part of
you
the
were
live show,
behind.
and I'm glad I'm getting to reply to you without interruption. It's always nice to have a good, clean start to the live show. Thanks, lads. Good to know.
Yes.
Yes,
Can I get in
indeed.
my statement? I'm having trouble getting in my statement based on the. Thank you. After today's pre-show, I'm going to start calling you Enzo.
I'm a lot nicer than Enzo, let's be honest. Anyway, have we got a video to cover today? Has somebody dug one out? While we're figuring that out, any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge? That's a horizon below surface level, formerly known as the curve of the Earth.
No, if there was a sphere edge, we would fall off.
No, if you don't have a curve of the Earth,
I'm going
if
to
you
go with
don't
that.
have a
I'm going to go
curve
with
of
that.
the
One
Earth,
second,
you
Ted.
don't have a ball Earth.
Do you want to repeat that from Discord? We'd fall off the edge if we had a curve of the Earth. That's a very interesting phraseology. Who said that?
Well, that was me. But they're always saying that they would fall off some sort of edge. So there's your edge. Why don't you fall off your sphere edge?
No, that's the best reply I've heard to date. That is absolutely brilliant as a reply to that question. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon formerly known as Earth curve? No. If we had Earth curve as a horizon, we could measure, shows Earth curve maths, the physical geometric hill and how much you fell over it. There'd be an edge to fall over. So, while we've identified that point before, Creation Bear, you've tied it in as the answer. There'd be an edge to fall off if we had Earth curve horizons. That's beautiful. I love it. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Well, my house has yet to move today, so I don't think so.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Well, it's no longer a boring blob of iron, is it? It's super ionic, but there's no evidence for that either.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Nope. Just angles. Whatever it is.
They got a debut of a new housekeeping questions, and chronologically speaking, Brian came up with it a couple of weeks before Eli aired it to somebody in conversation, which then turned into a temporary housekeeping question to sort of invoke people's annoyance to get it refined quicker. And that was previously any evidence that level runs equidistant to the centre of Earth. Now that has been polished up like a beautiful diamond and refined into the following question, which is any evidence that level is not horizontal?
So I'm guessing reading a Merriam-Webster's like dictionary definition saying that level is curved doesn't count.
So in the pre-show, we were giving a hypothetical example with both Ferrari dealers and a hypothetical example that I used with Bev, because he gets into this wrangle-dangle quite frequently. So subscribe today to Bev Try Thinking channel if you want to see this unfold. Or indeed, if you are inclined to participate in such endeavours, then it might be worth you joining after a lengthy discussion about level running equidistant to the centre of Earth, and then show them their own geometric assertions in terms of how their maths actually works, which requires level to be horizontal. Here it is marked as eye level and surface level. Now, we were also quick to point out that this is completely moot, and maybe in 2018 it might have been a great argument to point this out to them, the obvious that they've got two horizontals in their geometry, because it's a geometric principle that they have to adhere to in order to make their geometric claim of a horizon marked with an X in Muppet vision below surface level. But we've debunked the Earth curve edge itself with the black swan, so this is surplus to requirements. It doesn't change that some people don't like that argument and would rather get into hours and hours and hours of debate about level being not level. Well, here you go. It's part of their geometry. If you want to just shove this up when they're in that debate and just ask the baller that's claiming it's moving equidistant to the centre of a curved sea level, well, then just ask them why they've got level marked as surface level and eye level in their geometry when that's not running equidistant to the curved surface that they claim the Earth is, when they claim the horizon's below that surface level, marked as horizontal, as it must be geometrically speaking.
It must feel like the walls are closing in on you if you're an anti-flat earther all the time, you know?
Now, it feels like that for me. The more refined my argument becomes, the less I get exposure on YouTube and the more the viewing figures go down. So when I started in this subject and basically hadn't got a fucking clue, I was thick as all shit and made all sorts of stupid claims that made no sense and didn't know how to defend a flat earth, didn't know how to defeat a globe earth claim, got sucked into all the begging the question fallacies there were, gobbled up all the feast and nonsense that was there at the flat earth, along with investigating all of the conspiracies and stupid shit that was on offer. When I was like that, I had 300 people watching. Now, it's a totally different kettle of fish, because our arguments are so refined that, as you put it, the walls should be closing in on the anti-flat earthers. Well, no. What will actually happen is a hand-wave dismissal that disregards a complete, concise annihilation of the globe, together with a complete proof of flat earth, will be hand-waved in a video that goes to the top of the charts if you search this subject. That's what's actually happening. So while the walls should feel like they're closing in, nah, we're in a trash compactor. We are. What squirts out the top of it? Well, anti-flat earth squirts out the top of this trash compactor. Anyway, enough of my bitterness. Smash the super chat if you want to support this channel.
You would think the more dense would sink, but it's kind of the opposite here, isn't it?
Well,
Yeah.
Nathan, you just described something really fine. The truth is always rendered in the same way in the world of lies. So you're in good company.
Yeah, I'm not displeased with my lot in life. I could be a bit richer or less poor, depending on how I want to look at it. Half full glass or half empty glass. Either way, aside from that, yeah, I don't mind. You know, I get a lot of support, enough to sustain myself just, which is okay. In other words, other than that gripe, which I can directly translate to, how well am I doing on YouTube? Oh, well, I've got less YouTube revenue from ad revenue because I don't appear if you search me. What does is Simon Dan and Professor Dave Explains and all that stuff. That, you know, I could be bitter about that, but you know, I'm not necessarily looking for notoriety, more peace in life. You know, an income that can sustain me and raise my kids and feed my family and all those normal things that normal people want. But by the same token, if I was given a choice, knowing what's on each plate, here's a plate with Simon Dan's lot in life. He's got enough money to get crappy pictures of globes put on his wall behind him, and probably has a far fuller cupboard than you, and probably a nicer car and a nicer lifestyle and a few other things, purely because he's creaming the flat earth teat. So, well, okay. But he's got to live with the fact that he's wrong, demonstrably, and hand wave whenever he's demonstrated to be wrong, and cognitively cope with the fact that he hasn't got an overcome. He's got a hand wave and calling somebody stupid, just being insulting to them. That's what he's got to deal with for that. That's on the one plate. Now, on the other plate, you've got being right, having no person be able to come to you and overcome your arguments in any way, shape, or form. And when they try, they get absolutely humiliated. Dan being the example, so I'll use him. Come at me with you and your reference frames are ruined. You're going to be humiliated. Well, but alongside it comes the ridicule and, as John put it earlier, the sensation of the walls closing in on you when it comes to financial aspects of doing this. But you're not having to lie. You don't lose sleep over the world of deceit that you might be propping up. You don't have those issues. You rest easy and actually enjoy the work, even though you're not getting the recognition that you might find your brothers in anti-flat earth get. Who cares? Would you rather be a bit poorer and happy, go to bed with a clear conscience and sleep well at night, or be wealthy but wrong and have to trouble yourself with calling people idiots when they demonstrate you wrong? Which would you rather be? Now, obviously,
Can I choose
you can't have
cognitive
both.
dissonance?
Pardon? Go on.
Can I choose cognitive dissonance instead?
Cognitive dissonance is on the plate for Simon Dan. If he has to work in a world that simultaneously has Earth spinning underneath to cause 15 degrees an hour reference frame deviation, claim to prove Earth spins, and have the same cognitive mindset to tell me there are no reference frames, that's the textbook definition of cognitive dissonance, to hold both positions. Well, he must. That's on that plate. I don't want that fucking plate. No thanks. That sounds vile. It sounds sickening. What, but I'll get fed a few coins for doing it, for scoffing it down? I don't know if I want paying for that. I don't think I'd want the money for doing that. And I don't. I'd rather be right.
Nathan, I don't think anyone chooses cognitive dissonance unless you look at it as a Y in the road between truth and dishonesty.
Maybe. I just don't see this as a debatable point when most of the things we're discussing here aren't debatable. They're not agree-disagree genre.
Well, this is what I'm saying. The good conscience people, okay? In fact, the word conscience, you got science in there. Good conscience people choose truth.
Hey, Sleeping Warrior. We're having a relaxed
Nathan,
discussion of it today.
What about the position where, in contrast to Simon Dan that gets paid to lie, what about the position where you start off on this side of the topic, then somebody starts plowing you with plenty of money to give you the incentive to swap sides, and then they make you swap sides, so you then fall out with everybody that you previously used to have friends with. But now you're getting paid after knowing the truth. You're now getting paid to tell the overt lie after you once held up the truth. Isn't that far worse than being Simon Dan? Because Simon Dan knows he's lying, but he's never pushed the truth before and walked away from it. But to have the truth on your side and then walk away from that in favor of money instead is even worse in my books. And we see a few people on their side doing that, don't we? We see, what's his name? Speak truth, seek lies. He did exactly that. There are others.
Okay, but
obviously terrible.
Well, I'm going to kind of agree and kind of disagree, because I know where you're coming from, and you see that as sickening. That process to watch. Shout out Godzilla. He says, I want to support, but that garbage analogy makes me want to trash that idea. Thank you very much for the super chat. Very well done. Okay. Life is full of beautiful variety, Anthony. And at this buffet of life, there are many dishes to choose from. Now, on the buffet, not only are there choices such as flat earth and anti-flat earth, and Bigfoot and ghosts and all sorts of religions. There's many different plates on the buffet, isn't there, that you can start scuffling down? Well, the fact that somebody picks up a flat earth plate and goes, you know what, there's nothing in this for me. I just want the money. And there isn't any. Look, it's just, there's nothing in it. It's dust, right? But it looks like there was some food on this plate. It's like there's like a gravy smear that's like coming off the plate. And then you follow that gravy smear. And then there's another plate with anti-flat earth written on it that's got double helpings. Yeah. And you go, oh, I want that plate. The one with double helpings. You go, yeah, but that plate's got a lot of downsides to it, you know, like cognitive dissonance and cognitive pain, having to live with yourself lying all the time, only being a vindictive shit when you're proven wrong, which will be a lot. I mean, you know, you might get double helpings, but there's a lot of downsides. And someone goes, I want double helpings. And they go, I'm going to gobble that plate. Well, okay. We're just pointing out how crap that plate is. The fact that people will scoff from one plate and then go and scoff from the other. Well, yeah. So what? Ranty or the Seek Truth, whoever guy, or Chris Monk, or there's a few of them, isn't there? But yeah, more power to you. Off you go. I don't care.
I forgot
That's
about
my Baldwin.
I was actually referring to Seek Truth, Speak Lies, because he was the first one that I recall claiming that he was a flat earther first. And I thought, I've never even heard of you. So it was like, really? And then to see that he claims that he jumped sides. If you want a really better example of anybody that was here as a plant, he would be the one. He was never a flat earther, but claims he was, yet jumped sides, apparently, and now gets paid to prop up the lies of the globe. That couldn't be any worse a position to be for a human being, in my book.
I don't care. I don't care, though. That's the thing. I don't care. So, yeah, it might be. But why do you care? Like with ghosts, why do you care if there was somebody making money from ghosts?
It's just the dishonesty. You're getting paid to tell lies.
Like with ghosts.
You might as well be a politician.
Or a politician.
Yeah.
But do you care? Do you care? I don't pay any attention to politics because I find it all disgusting. So like I'm saying in the same way, well, cut these lying scumbags out. I was in the pre-show. In the pre-show, I was saying, just cut these lying scumbags out of your life. If you find that they're deceitful, don't interact with them.
I care that they're making money out of dishonesty. Nobody should be allowed to do that. But science is free for all. It doesn't self-govern like I previously thought it did. I thought that science governed itself. It clearly does not. And it also doesn't know what science is. Science itself doesn't seem to know what science is, because we get a lot of people trying to redefine the terms of science. I saw Bev's Try Thinkings the other night, and he was showing a video where he was showing, what's his name? He was showing somebody, it was McToon, and he claims that science calculates the effect. That's what he said that science does. Another guy that's lying about science for money. How dishonest can you be?
I think one deck's been peppered on server mute because he's off mute. Can you sort your local mute out, please, one deck? One deck, can you hear us? No, he's run away from his computer in the middle of a live show. Oh, well, he's going to have to be server muted.
Anthony, does science have lips?
It's represented by people, isn't it? So science doesn't have lips. No, it is just a process. I do agree with that. But when you have people that are claiming to be of the scientific kind, that is putting themselves in a certain position. And when they misrepresent the position that they claim that they put themselves in, that is dishonest, whether science has lips or not.
So what's the difference when a real estate agent with a real estate license deceives someone? Or what's the difference when the car salesman tells you something about a used car that you find out isn't true? What does all that fall under? What umbrella is that?
Yeah, people are dishonest.
Okay.
Seems to be acceptable with a car salesman or a house person, doesn't it? Because you do see people that describe things as comfortable living when really it means tiny, or efficient on fuel, meaning it doesn't cost you an absolute bomb to go to the petrol station, but it does cost you a fortune.
This is a Simpsons sketch. So Lionel Hutz, real estate agent, he's there hammering in a for sale sign outside a house. And Marge walks past and he says to her, if you lived here, you'd be home by now. Right? So she then decides that she's going to become a real estate agent, and I think she fails the exam. So he takes her under his wing and gets his little folder out that has loads of pictures of property, right? And the first one is a tiny little house, And she says, well, that's tiny. He goes, no, it's cozy, right? And the next one's like falling apart. And she goes, well, that one looks dilapidated. And he goes, no, it's rustic. And he flicks the page, and there's a house on fire. And he says, come on, that's a house on fire. He says, no, motivated seller. He says, look, Marge, the right house is the house that's for sale. And the right purchaser is anyone.
So if we were to paraphrase that into this topic, that would mean that you would have to say something like, Marge would have to look at a straight line and say, that's a straight line. And then Lionel Hutz would say, no, that is a bendizontal. And Marge would look at him and say, there's no such word as bendizontal. And then he'd close the book, walk away giggling, and say something like, yeah, but so long as I get my super chats, it's all okay. And that would be how it is. And that is how
more
it is.
like Marge would say, I'm a globe-believing clown, Lionel. Was this house built on a curved, level foundation? And Lionel goes, yes, globe-believing idiot. If it means you'll buy this house, it was built on a level curve.
Yep. It's shocking.
You gotta make
A
that
level
into
curve.
You gotta make
That is
this
so
into a
stupid.
short. Sorry, you gotta make this into a short.
I just ripped off a sketch from Simpsons. I literally paraphrased the sketch almost verbatim. So, no, I don't think I will. I think I'll probably get a copyright strike. Nevertheless.
No, not if you. No, you wouldn't. Not if you use the last half of it in comparison to that sketch.
What?
You would.
And
You
then
don't
put
get
your
a
voice.
copyright strike for quoting something else.
No,
Verbally.
you probably
We'll,
right.
we'll
Alvin.
do the clip from The Simpsons and put your voice in place of their voices.
Just called plagiarism. Anyway.
Ah,
No, just use the same logic. I didn't rip anything off of The Simpsons. It just landed here and I used it.
Right. Anyway, so we were talking about the deceit of anti-flat earthers, weren't we? In terms of whether or not you would go to the extent of trying to appeal to somebody who isn't a customer of yours, has no interest in buying your product, in fact wants to shut your business down. Why would you spend hours and hours trying to convince that person that you've got a good product? Doesn't matter if it's a Ferrari or flat earth. Why would you waste your time?
Even a broken clock is correct twice a day, Nathan.
So?
Eventually, you might hit the jackpot.
No, you've obviously never been a salesman. No, that's not the case. There are scenarios with awkward customers, right? Now, I literally did see an example of this on VinWiki. So there's a guy talking about a Ferrari customer who's rich and entitled and an asshole. As you know, not all rich people are like that, but just some are, because some people are. But in this instance, he's a rich, entitled asshole, and he's negotiated a cash deal for a Ferrari. But then when it comes to buying it, he's like, I want to use someone else's money, so I'm going to do it on credit. So the deal changes, that drags out the process, then it comes to getting it all signed, and the guy's disappeared, right? He's gone. So the guy's got to chase him down for this Ferrari that he's got to sign the lease on so he can actually sell the damn thing to him. And eventually he has to go to him on his yacht. Why? Well, because why would I piss around with this Ferrari you're trying to sell me when I've got a £1 million or £5 million yacht? That's where I am. You know, I'm getting my value out of my yacht. You can come to me on my yacht when I'm enjoying life. So he does, and he gets the paperwork signed, and it's all a massive hassle, right? Now, after the fact, he's like, I don't want to deal with customers like this ever again. They're assholes. But in reciting the story to a different dealer, he's like, well, you won. You got that guy who has visited all sorts of other people, and they don't want to know because he's a pain in the ass. You got his money, didn't you? The guy's like, yeah, I did, yeah. So you won, right? That's different. That's a guy who does want a Ferrari, but is an entitled prick. He doesn't want to come in and tell you that the Audi's faster, or that the Subaru he's considering trading in for Audi is better than both of them, and justifying not purchasing either while he tells you your Ferrari isn't as good as an Audi. That's not what he's there for. He's an awkward customer. Now, that is the customer I used to specialise in. Getting those awkward pricks to part with their money. Usually rich, usually even more tight than your average Joe who's got less money. That's why they've got more money. So when you convince them to actually part with some of it, you feel like you've won. But do they require massive amounts of service to get it? Yeah, they do. Yeah. Are they awkward? Yeah. But you recognise that they actually want to part with money. The best example I ever had of this was a guy who came in with his son I'm not going to say his name in case he's watching. I doubt it. It's about 30 years ago. But he stunk of piss, right? And he came in and went to, I was in a hi-fi retailer, and he went to the most expensive single box amplifier that we sold. That's what he went a beeline for it when he walked in the shop. Now, I recognised that amp that he was looking at was the top-rated amp in all the rags, the ones that we didn't approve of, that were mainstream and on the stores at Tesco. So they recommended this $2,000 box that was a pile of crap in what hi-fi. So as soon as someone went in and started looking at it, I was like, he's a hi-fi reader. He reads what hi-fi is. Obviously, he knows what he wants to look at, right? Now, as soon as I got near him and smelt that his son stunk of piss, fully grown man, I was like, whoa, this isn't good. But after half an hour chatting to him, awkward customer, exceedingly demanding, wanted everything for nothing, pie with about 40 grand, right? I later found out he'd done the rounds. He'd done all sorts of dealers. None of them wanted to deal with him. Probably because he was a pain in the arse and his son stunk of piss. Why would we want to deal with him? But I recognised he was my customer. He wanted to know about flat Earth, by comparison. Now, was he reluctant? Was he edgy because he recognised the ridicule in flat Earth? Was he concerned from a social point of view about this information I'm about to disseminate? Yeah, proper pain in the arse, right? Yeah. But at the end of the process, when you're like, no, it can't be a vacuum because the gas would fill it. They're not going, prove you don't. That isn't the relationship that's being built up with this awkward person. There's plenty of people I've talked about. Perfect, better example, right? When talking about science with our very own PhD. I'm going to stop naming in this. I'm not going to name the person. But the particular individual who's all doctored up, PhD'd up or whatever, doesn't want to know when they're declaring science incorrectly because it doesn't follow their theme of magic tricks in scientific vernacular, working like a charm. Anytime you tell anybody what you do, it generates a massive amount of respect. When you say, that's not actually science, by the way, they're gonna take it badly and resist. Well, in that instance, it was well worth the effort because the person, while resisting, definitely was a customer of mine. And I recognise that. Now, most people want to be told by a non-customer to chew up their time. By equivalent, in my days as a retailer, the guy who just walks in off the street and wants to see a bazillion-pound hi-fi working, just because he wants to see it. Well, you can show them just for 10 seconds just so they can see it and you're not being unreasonable. Why wouldn't you, if you've got nothing better to do? But if you've got a shop full of people who want to spend money, that guy can get lost, because they're just wasting your time. Now, further to that guy who just comes in and wastes your time, the guy who comes in to look at your £1 million hi-fi so he can tell you that the one he's bought for 50 quid off eBay is better. Now, he's worse than a wanker. Anyway. Are we going to deal with the video today, by the way? Go on, Sleeping Warrior, sorry.
That was an impressive tangent that I didn't think would take that long.
Oh, it's a laid back kind of day. We've only done half a housekeeping. We've covered videos all week. We've been extremely informative. Stuck out several shorts videos. I mean, I like having a little chit chat and moan about things. Why not?
Well, we just had a new word. No, it's really an old word, tangent. And how did Anthony use tangent?
It was the deflection from Nathan's main topic that was to do with the deception of the ball earth by ballers. And somehow I used the word tangent out of context because tangent only means that we're assuming a sphere in this topic. Am I not correct, the 10th?
Well, I think you were off tangent from the point, yes.
Yeah, but we only assume globe earth when we say tangents, don't we, 10th?
Well, I think that this is the beauty of language. If I say I'm having a ball in the English language, at least here in America, that means I'm having a good time. But ball is a sphere.
And if I'm taking my ball, it means I'm going home because I'm not playing anymore.
So Socratic method in language is important and context is important.
Of course, language is important. I said to Nathan many months ago, I said, this topic is going to come down to the meanings of words, and it couldn't be any truer. The reality is, when you look at the meanings of words, the words that they use, they are misusing them, and it's on us to point that out. Because when they say things like science, they're not using science; they're using what they misrepresent to be science as science, and it isn't. So we just got to keep pointing that out over and over again. And when they say, "Oh, you're just playing with the meanings of words," yes, we say, "Yes, that's right, we are," because you're misusing them.
So when they were going to name a new invention and they called it an aeroplane, what does that plane mean?
Well, it's the horizontal plane of the Earth, isn't it? And the Earth travels through the horizontal plane of the Earth. Or above.
So are we going to cover a video? Is Adam around? John and Adam, I'm going to be leaning on you today a lot.
Yeah, I'm about.
Have you got? Has somebody got this video?
Oh, I didn't think to grab it.
Any chance you can?
Yeah, let me go look for it right quick.
Okay. So I don't know if we actually recorded this or not. I can't remember. I'm a bit hazy. Nevertheless, when talking yesterday about what we might cover in future, it was raised that, I think it was by Arwin, that he'd want a really concise explanation of the Haversine formula. And it was put to Arwin, well, just go and read about it then. Just go and look it up. There's plenty of videos about the Haversine formula and how it works. And Arwin's like, okay, well, what video do I go and see? And John was like, well, Ruhif's done a video on it. You know, he's very concise in terms of how he goes through how the Haversine works. You know, he's detailing how the magic trick works in that video. If you want to know how they convert a flat Earth to a sphere, there it is. Ruhif goes through it. So I said, okay, that's the point I interject. Let's do that then. We'll cover that one. If that's the one that you suggest first, because it's someone we talk about, or because it's a particularly good video. If it is, we'll give him props. You know, if he's done a good job of detailing the Haversine formula, it's very useful to us. Has he done a good job? That's something I didn't actually clarify. Because the videos I like covering are ones where the actual rhetoric is correct. Doesn't matter that we can disprove it or that we want to disprove it. Just, is it correct? In other words, if you're going to talk about gravity, then be like Tyson. If you're going to talk about Coriolis effect, be like Tyson, I say with a big smile. Because he's slippery and I like that. But he's definitely in line with the rhetoric. Most of the time, 99% of the time. I'm sure we can find some examples where he isn't. But for the most part, if he's making an assertion about Coriolis effect, slippery though he may be, weaselly with his words though he may be, he's going to detail the actual claim of a globe Earth. So that is what I like. Now, if Ruhif has actually done a good job of covering the Haversine formula, then I will give him props at the end, regardless of how much we pull it apart and show how it's proving a flat Earth. You know, if he's done a good job, he'll get props.
So after Bev tried thinking that his back and forth with Blue Marble Science, I heard Blue Marble Science back in his own hangout telling all of his cronies, all of his little subs, he was telling them all how he was expecting Bev to come back with a definition, and somebody shouted in the background, yeah, like Anthony fucking Riley. And I thought, what's wrong with having a definition? Well, if you're going to talk about gravity, right, and you don't have a definition for it, you're going to wrongly let people think that Newtonian gravitation is the current science, and it isn't. So what's actually wrong with defining terms before you have a conversation about, say, gravity? Absolutely nothing. In fact,
excuse me, there's everything wrong with defining terms if the terms don't meet your requirements for a sphere Earth.
I know. I was shocked that my name got. I mean, I've not been around for a while, but my name got dropped because they wanted definitions. And I just thought, what's wrong with wanting definitions? That is the nature of a debate for starters, because why would you want to talk about gravity and not realize that your opponent's applying the wrong one and you're there to talk about the correct one, or the current one at least, Einstein, and your opponent's talking about Newtonian, and you thought your whole conversation was going to be about bending space-time. And actually, you're talking about drop tests that are no longer science or considered to be science. It's a joke.
Well, wear it like a badge of honor, because what you did scared them so much they have to mock it, because they know what you said is right, but they have to laugh at it, mock it, because they know if they go for the precise interpretation of a word, they're doomed.
I posted that in Master B, and like they don't have the whole debate. They just have the Ruhif part, that, and like it cuts me off before I can even respond to anything to it. So it's
Okay.
in there.
Okay, so do you want me to start from? I think it's like where are we at? 1 minute in, just after his introductions, when he starts with the sextant observations, or do you want me to play out his full intros?
Oh, it don't matter to me. Whatever you want to do, man.
We'll just start when he gets into the thick of the what would you call it, presentation.
Set of observations for the debate. I've been given an eye height of 32 meters and an index error of 2 arc minutes. And my 3 stars are Achenar, Betelgeuse, and Canopus. And here are the angles and the time that they were taken. Now, the first task is to get the GP of each of these stars at the time of the observation. And GP just stands for geographic position, or sometimes people say ground position. And all the GP is the point on Earth where the star is directly overhead at.
How's that volume-wise? Too loud?
That was good. I have an objection. He used the word angles. He's going to have to. He never shows how he got the angles. They were just given to him.
That's why I started here. So we're starting off with the angles that require a flat Earth to acquire. Okay.
Yeah.
Good place to start.
Yeah, and that.
Nathan, let me ask, like, critically, how does getting an angle that requires a flat Earth, how is that a sequitur point? Because if you measure an angle, I don't think that relates in any way to the Earth, the shape of the Earth.
You're measuring it from a baseline. That is.
Yeah, but the baseline. The baseline is not the terrain.
My bad. That
The
is
baseline is
the.
not the terrain.
Third time. Go on, Anthony.
Right, you're equivocating topography with the baseline.
I'm contrasting it. I'm saying Nathan seems to be equivocating it, and that would be a reification fallacy.
No, he's not. He's using the baseline, what we would call a level.
Yeah.
Level.
Is the level the terrain?
That's what you're measuring.
Sea level, Anthony. Not
is the level the terrain?
Yes, that's what you're measuring to navigate when you do celestial navigation, Anthony. Yes, it's precisely to do with the terrain when you mark it on a map and try and find your position on the terrain. Yes, it's definitely to do with the terrain that you're navigating. Yes.
No, it's the datum point from which the terrain is being assumed or applied. That's a reification.
Sea level, Anthony. Why is it sea level?
But we're not using sea level to measure an angle, are we? We're using level.
You're using the horizon.
You're using eye level, which is horizontal to or parallel to sea level.
So that's got nothing to do with the shape of the Earth, then, right?
Yeah, that's what you're navigating.
Did you not hear me? Or are you just like ignoring what I said?
No, I applied what you said. I contrasted with what you said as
eye level.
Yeah.
Eye level, sea level. They're parallel.
I don't think Anthony understands.
You're not. You're using the sea level. That's where the baseline that's where the adjacent of your elevation angle will be. Sea level. Height of eye correction. Sea level.
So at that point, it logically follows that the Earth could be a dingleberry Earth underneath the sea level, or you're reifying the sea level as the line of sight as the sea level.
Hold on, Anthony.
Either or.
Okay. Your assertion is correct in line with their claim. Their claim is that Earth is a dingleberry below surface level. But do you see below surface level, Anthony?
No, but my question is.
Well, then what? Hold on. Then there's a conclusion, because that's what you measured when you used the baseline, and they use it also, and then after using it, assert that there's a globe Earth horizon below the surface level they used and we use, and we're navigating and measuring to navigate. They're using it to assert the horizon's below it, below surface level.
So it's not the use of the line that makes the Earth a sphere or not. It's the action that follows the use of the line as a straight line that is the problem, correct?
No, you're measuring an angle from surface level. And an angle is a straight, flat line, and the level you're taking it from is the ground that you're navigating. It's directly. You're saying it like you're detailing what happens when you measure a flat Earth to get an angle. And you're saying, well, it's got nothing to do with flat Earth. Well, it's got everything to do with it.
Yeah, but the line is not the terrain.
So we're not measuring and navigating the terrain then?
Yes, but we're not measuring or navigating the terrain as a line. We're measuring and navigating the terrain regardless of the line.
No. That line is going to form a point from the GP of the star that you've measured to a circle of, quote, equal elevation. That's the terrain. And it's at equal elevation, same height.
So when the reification fallacy says that the map is not the terrain, why is it not the case that the line is not the terrain?
The line on the map isn't the terrain, but the guy in the boat is navigating with the map, and what he's navigating and utilising the baseline for is the navigation of the terrain. So in a very real way, not reifying the world into being flat, measuring a flat baseline stops people from dying at sea, Anthony. So it's not a reification fallacy, it's a life-saving fact of the terrain that we navigate.
I don't agree. I think that if you're going to be using a straight line for the purposes of measuring an angle, it has absolutely nothing to do with the shape of the terrain below it.
That's what you're measuring.
Anthony, you're not understanding something. You're not understanding.
Anthony does. Okay, Brian, you want to go or should I go?
I'll be very quick then. Anthony, you're placing the adjacent of the elevation angle onto the surface of the water. The measurement you make has to be horizontal because it's going to become a radius. And it's going to be the radius of a circle is going to be two-dimensional. You're measuring nothing but, you're measuring the horizontal baseline of Earth. That's what you're measuring. You can't do this if you're going to curve that adjacent. You can't have a curved radius. It doesn't work. Your measurements won't fit the globe.
I agree that you can't measure an angle with a curved baseline. What I'm asking is if the curved baseline or the straight baseline has anything to do with the shape of the ground below.
Yeah, that's what you're navigating.
You're placing it directly onto sea level. That's what the height of void correction is. The adjacent is placed directly onto sea level below your boat. So from that point, you're on mean sea level or sea level. That's the point. You might measure through a piece of land at sea level because you're measuring just a horizontal, but you're measuring the horizontal baseline of Earth. And if Earth doesn't have a horizontal baseline, then you won't be able to measure. All your measurements won't mean anything. If Earth was a globe, what you measure will be an absolute disaster. Even you can measure 3 circles of equal altitude that are greater in even 2 circles of equal altitude that will be greater in surface area than the whole of a globe Earth.
Greater in what?
This can't
Sorry, just for Anthony's benefit. Greater in what? A bit greater in what, Brian?
Oh, sorry, I'm still talking to Anthony. Surface area.
Surface area? I mean, what's this got to do with the surface, I ask myself? Anthony?
Nothing.
But you're complaining that when you're measuring these angles, using the baseline, that's the surface, and then when you're drawing out circles and working out how much surface you've got, whether or not it's got anything to do with the surface that you're navigating. It just seems absurd. Your line of questioning seems absurd. Utterly absurd to me. Sorry.
Well, all I'm doing is question it. Like, if Bev Try Thinking was here right now, I would be asking the question to Bev. When he says things like horizontal is a level line created by a plumb bob and being perpendicular to that vertical of the plumb bob, or whatever it is that he says, I would be asking him how does he know? How does he prove that his geometry, that his argument in geometry, has got anything to do with the shape of the Earth? Because his argument can be sound in geometry, but have nothing to do with the shape of the Earth. How does he show that it is?
So what does geometry mean?
But even if you define geometry to be something to do with the shape of the Earth in some way,
no, I asked. What does it mean? What does it mean? You started off by bragging about the fact you like definitions. What does geometric mean?
Well, geo means of Earth, and
okay, stop. Excuse me. Sorry. You're asking me about whether or not this geometric principle of level and horizontal could have nothing to do with Earth. This Earth measurement. I don't know. You tell me, Anthony.
I'm just asking, how do we rule it out from being reification?
Sorry, this geometric principle, this Earth measurement principle, Anthony.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's got nothing to do with Earth.
Okay, so when Bev says you can do fuck all with an angle, I tend to agree with that, because you measure an angle using two straight lines, and regardless of what you're looking at, remember that
what about an elevation angle? One used to save lives at sea.
Can't do out with it. Why would you bother measuring?
No, that's not what Anthony said. He said that to me. Yeah, when Bev said that to me, I was on his show. He recorded it and then didn't publish it. And I pointed out to him that an elevation angle could save his life if he was lost at sea. Do you know what his response to me was? Because I've literally gone through this with him. Do you want to know what his response was? Given the scenario being lost at sea and needing to measure an elevation angle measurement. Do you know what his response was?
I would like to point out right now that the only reason that Anthony's arguing this is because this is the end of the debate. At this point, it's over. Everything that Ruhif's getting ready to say is based on this. So Anthony's trying to give him a fair shot.
I'm not arguing. I'm only asking because I'm not sure. I'm not. I'm genuinely not.
You're making up words. You're arguing.
I'm not arguing. I'm asking, how do we contrast it with the reification fallacy to prove that it's not reification?
We're not reifying anything. We're doing. Let me just expand. We're doing celestial navigation in that model, okay? And the reason you can draw an inference with regards to the nature of the surface is the nature of the surface is what you're going to do these geometric calculations on your GPs and to get your fix. Now, the nature of the baseline in the geometry has to be relevant to the nature of the surface of which you're going to do the navigation. It's not to reify it into it being the surface, but it's to recognize the geometric equivalence of the baseline and the surface. If you don't recognize that, then you've got further things to do, bend your R values and all sorts of stuff if you're going to navigate on a curved surface, which is not equivalent to the baseline.
I'm not arguing. I'm just asking because I think that when the way Bev words it, he makes it sound like the horizontal line is the shape of the Earth, but he won't call himself a flat earther, which then confuses what does he mean when he says the horizontal line? Because if the horizontal line is a calculation in geometry, then that would be reification to apply that as the shape of the Earth. But if it's not, and it goes further than that, like you're saying, then it needs to be better explained by Bev, because he makes it sound like it.
You've got a misunderstanding of what reification is, Anthony. Right?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I do not.
I'm trying to give you an example. If you're on a hill with an ordnance survey map and you find your way from A to B, have you committed a reification fallacy? Because the map's not the terrain?
No, but if you measure an angle and you have the bottom angle, the bottom line, a straight line, and you then infer that the shape of the Earth must relate to the line, you are reifying that straight line angle measurement as a shape in some way to do with the shape of the Earth.
Not reifying it. No. No. You're not reifying it. You're using it as flat.
Yeah.
You're utilizing the fact that you can get a flat baseline. It's not reifying it. It's utilizing it.
can I give it a stab, please? I'm dying here with all this nonsense. Anthony, why do you subtract from 90 the angle that you get from the sextant?
Because vertical is never really in question, is it?
Excuse me.
No, that's not why.
90 is perpendicular to horizontal. The vertical and the horizontal make a 90.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you take your angle measurement using the Earth's horizon with the horizon mirror on the sextant. You take the index arm, which has a mirror, and you bring the luminary down and barely scratch the surface of the horizon, waggle it left to right till you find 90 perpendicular, until you say this is where it's straight. Then you say mark, and then you do the seconds first, then the minutes, then the hours, then the date, then all that. Then you go look at a book that's got all the stars with its angular relationship to a Earth with a flat surface, because you use the horizon, and you minus from 90. And you find out where the GP of the sun is and where your GP is. Those are two distinct zeniths. And you say your angle is 50 degrees from the horizon to the luminary. You minus from 90, that leaves you 40. 40 times 60 nautical miles, you're 2,400 miles from where that sun is over directly on that Earth, and that has to be flat. That's your radius line that can't bend from the circle of equal altitude.
It's a matter of fact, Anthony. Celestial navigation is done on a flat Earth. That's a statement of fact. Now, if you say, well, that doesn't mean the Earth's flat. Okay, you can say that if you want to. But my statement of fact doesn't alter what celestial navigation is and how celestial navigation is performed and what a baseline is and what this geometry is. That's what it is.
Okay. See, again, I'm not arguing it. I'm genuinely asking, because the way Bev presents it, he presents it as though it is a reification fallacy. He doesn't explain it further than that. Whereas what you've done,
Okay, I didn't get to the end of my point earlier with Bev, did I? So I presented a scenario to Bev when he was stating that to me. You can do F all with an angle, says Bev. So I put him in a hypothetical scenario where he's out at sea, lost. And I'm like, well, what are you going to do, Bev? Right? You've got a sextant, you've got some star charts, you've got a really good clock. What are you going to do? Given that you can't do anything with an angle. Do you know what he said? His response was he'd blame the navigator. I was like, so let me get it straight. You're lost at sea, and what you'll be doing, while everybody dies, is having a little row with the navigator, telling him he shouldn't have got lost. See, me, I'd be measuring angles. I'd be looking at those star charts. I'd be figuring out where the hell I was using angles. And a flat Earth, that's what I'd be doing. Because you can do things with an angle. You can find out where the hell you are using the stars. That's what you can do with an angle.
Okay, so when you've explained that, you've answered the question that I said, how do you contrast it with being a reification fallacy? You've actually answered that. Because up until that point, I was missing the bit afterwards, because Bev doesn't explain that. He just says things like you can do fuck all with an angle, or
so you're dealing with a retard. So what you're saying is Bev doesn't have the slightest idea how celestial navigation... Yeah, I could have told you that. I found that out from him firsthand when I put him in a scenario lost at sea and asked him what he'd do. He didn't say measure an angle so I can save the lives of everybody on board this hypothetical ship. No, Bev let them all die while he argued with the navigator. Yeah, because he's thick. He doesn't understand this argument. So when he says you can do fuck all with an angle, it's because he's thick as fuck. Not because he doesn't actually have a good grasp on it to debunk it. He doesn't. He doesn't understand the argument. Otherwise, he wouldn't be saying it, because he'd understand that you literally can stop people from dying. Like they did in Bev's ship, hypothetically speaking. He killed everybody because he didn't know what to do with an angle.
I agree with you. What you've done is you've explained and contrasted why it's not reification, because when Bev stops at the point where he says you measure an angle with the baseline, the horizontal or whatever, and he stops it there, that to me sounds like it's a reification of geometry into the terrain. That sounds like a reification fallacy. But when you explain it by saying...
Anthony, that's not what Bev is talking about. Bev is talking about horizontals and levels in surveying. Horizontals and verticals in surveying. In surveying, you use nothing but horizontals and verticals when when you're measuring what the ballers claim to be curvature and everything. You don't. You're using rise over run. It's all horizontal. It's all vertical. That's what he's talking about in the surveying sense. He's not talking about celestial navigation. I can guarantee you he does not have a clue about how celestial navigation works. I tried 3 times. Hang on, leave me. I've tried 3 times, maybe more than 3 at this stage, to explain it to him. He doesn't want to know. So when he talks about horizontals and verticals, he's only talking about auto levels and measuring rods. He's not talking about celestial navigation.
Okay, so the reason why I'm mentioning this is because I heard him referencing Ruhif when he was trying to line up a debate with Ruhif, and Ruhif asked him, if we have this conversation, are you then going to claim that this has got anything to do with the shape of the Earth or nothing to do with the shape of the Earth? And he said, no, nothing to do with the shape of the Earth. But by saying it the way that he says it, it makes it sound like it's reification. The geometry of the Earth is reification because he doesn't apply it to the Earth in any way. So that's why I'm asking.
Stop. Sorry, what's geometric mean again?
Geo means, I know, but where's the connection?
Don't say you know. I want the audience to hear you say it. Geo means what?
Study of the Earth.
And what does metric mean?
Measurement.
So Earth measurement then.
Right. But where's the connection?
Between Earth measurement and measuring Earth?
Yeah.
I'll tell him. It's at level.
Yeah, but this is why that's why I asked. You contrast it from being a reification fallacy.
Let me show him. Right, for the audience's benefit, Anthony, if you're looking at the live stream, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about geometric principles. So regardless of if your assertion is a sphere Earth geometry or a flat Earth geometry, you're making a geometric assertion marked with surface level in their geometry.
I get that. It was the explanation. It was the explanation on a boat in the middle of the sea with angles to stars that goes the step further, that negates it or contrasts it with being reification. And because Bev doesn't address that, it leaves the question standing, which is, how is it not reification? And
he's failed.
That explanation,
okay, so what you're saying is Bev's a failure, and his failure to understand the argument led him to not only disclaim to an opponent of the argument that it has nothing to do with Earth when he's talking about geometric discussions. He's conceded it's got nothing to do with Earth. You're not going to make any assertions about Earth when I have my ass handed to you, should you understand the argument, Bev. If you understood this argument, you'd be asking me about this flat Earth angle I've taken and whether or not that flat Earth angle I've taken from the surface, the baseline, has anything to do with Earth. That geometric principle I used to get the angle, whether or not that geometric principle has anything to do with Earth. Bev said, no. Well, that's because he's a wanker and doesn't understand the argument. He's being asked by his opponent if he'll ever be likely to be put in a position to lose. And Bev said, nah, I'm not going to put you in a position to lose when we talk about Earth measurement. In fact, that's probably a reification fallacy when I talk about measuring Earth. No, it definitely isn't. He's just thick as shit and would let you die if you were on a boat with him, because he'd tell you can do fuck all with an angle rather than saving your life with a sextant. That's what Bev does. Thick. So don't appeal for half an hour, Anthony, to this thicko who doesn't understand these arguments. Calls reification when he doesn't understand that, no, people actually navigate the terrain. They apply this to the Earth and find their way home.
Let's be clear, I'm not appealing to Bev.
Anthony, you're mixing up something with what Bev is saying.
Yeah.
Bev is not making a claim about the whole Earth. What Bev is talking about is the measurement of, let's just say, an area, the slope of a mountain, blah, blah, blah. But Bev won't make a claim about the whole Earth because he won't say the Earth is flat because the Earth has mountains and hills and valleys, right? So he's working off of that splitting here, right? So that's why he won't say anything about the shape of the Earth.
Quick announcement. So we've got 100 people watching. We will go live for another 15 minutes, right? Or thereabouts, till 1:15. And if we can get 110 people watching, we'll do a full hour on this Ruhif video because we haven't covered a single bit of it. We've covered about 25 seconds. So share the show. If we can get the viewing figures up, I will bribe you with extra live content. Hopefully we can get the live numbers up. Anyway.
This needs a summary. Anthony, this needs a summary. After you're done, I'd like to give my version.
Okay, but this is because somebody somewhere, I can't remember who it is, they say that if you can't explain it sufficiently so that a 5 or a 6-year-old understands it, you don't understand it yourself. It has to be simplified.
Einstein said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough.
Right, and because there was a gap in what Bev was explaining with regards to the angle and how it applies against the shape of the Earth, there was a gap there because he said it has nothing to do with the shape of the Earth when Ruhif specifically asked him that question. Then the logical consequence of that for me was, well, if it has nothing to do with the shape of the Earth, why is it not reification? Hence why I asked. Now, because you explained it with an angle at sea and stars and saving people's lives, now I understand how it applies. But because Bev couldn't and didn't do that and said it has nothing to do with it, there was a void there that should have not been a void. It should have been addressed.
Maybe Bev should try thinking.
Yes, correct.
Bev calls the Nautical Almanac the magic book. Bev doesn't know anything about celestial navigation. He doesn't want to know anything about celestial navigation. He has chosen, and I mean this, and I have the evidence, chosen to be ignorant. Right? And when he says he's not measuring the Earth, he is measuring the Earth if he's using geometry and surveying. That is the measuring the Earth. He may not be making a claim about the whole Earth, but he is measuring at least a portion of it, of the Earth, whether it be big or small. That's what surveying does.
He's choosing to be ignorant, Brian?
Hold on. I would like to point at this time we have moved far enough away from the video that the ballers could consider this a win.
Yeah.
You say if Ruhif was an audience member going, you know what, I absolutely pummeled them in those 25 seconds we had.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what they declare, and they declare victory at all times, no matter what, no matter how bad it is. I heard what's his name, Blue Marble Science. I heard him claiming a victory against Bev, and Bev absolutely pummeled him, but he still claimed it anyway. And I was like, this is just embarrassing for Blue Marble Science.
Let's get into
anyway, let's get to the video.
Yes.
At that point in time.